So let's get into these previews. We're going to go ahead start with what we think the table is going to be. So we'll start off with what we believe. And going from top to bottom, we have Louisville City in first, Charleston second, Tampa Bay in third, Pittsburgh in fourth, the Detroit City in fifth, Rhode Island in sixth, Loudoun in seventh, Hartford in eighth. Legion are our first team out at ninth, Indy 11 and 10th, the Miami FC in 12th. You got Brooklyn, or sorry, in 11th, got Brooklyn in 12th, and you got the other new boys, Sporting Jacks, down there getting the wooden spoon. But how do we differ from the fans? Well, the fans, they think it's going to be Louisville in first, Charleston in second, Pittsburgh in third, Tampa Bay in fourth, Rhode Island in fifth, Detroit City in sixth, Hartford in seventh, Indy in eighth, Loudoun down in ninth, our first team out, Legion in 10th, Brooklyn in 11th, Sporting Jackson 12th, and the Miami FC in last. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into the preview. And let's start off with Louisville City FC. Listen, we know what they can be. You see the roster, you see who they are. But the storyline with Louisville, as the fans have them first, and so do we, can they make it matter in November? Sporting Jacks, our vote for the wooden spoon. The fans think second to last. The storyline here is, can these unproven talents at the next pro level make the jump, and can some of these older guys who've been in the championship re-find a little bit of flame?
Yeah, I mean, I'm mad at myself for submitting my ballot before I got to see Jacksonville play, because I saw this system in action against Charleston and I see the vision all of a sudden. This Jacksonville team, and I mentioned the next pro players in the prompt, they are young, they are hungry, they are energetic. They want to play over the top and press you to regain in useful situations against a defense that isn't necessarily set up to succeed. And they've got the speed to do it. You think about Jacob Evans, who's really creative. Tyshawn Rose, really agile, great in one-on-ones at left back. It's a lot of USL guys, too. If you think about Ahmad Elcock and Zeke Soto, kind of in that right central pocket within the midfield. There's just a lot of guys that are going to outgrind you and really put in the effort. That is a credit to Liam Fox for getting that energy immediately from this squad. It's not going to be the same as the Super League. That team came out and looks pretty every time you see them play. It is complicated possession patterns, doing things so attractively. Jacksonville is going to be a little bit more rough and tumble on the men's side, but I think that is a good approach for a team that's still getting their feet wet at the men's pro ranks. And yeah, suddenly I'm excited about what Jacksonville is bringing to the table.
And Jacksonville will be looking to join Rhode Island and at least North Carolina from 2024 as the first teams to have been quote-unquote expansion sides into the league that have also made the playoffs. We had Lexington just miss out on it last season by a single point, but they're going to be starting out the year with Hartford, Rhode Island, Miami, Pittsburgh, and Tampa Bay. So they get two derbies to at least open up the season. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this team kind of comes together, if there will be this kind of similarly like very exciting team to watch, if there will be involved in a lot of high scoring games that you're kind of been referring to, John. So yeah, I think I can definitely get behind, or at least get on board with the Sporting Jacks hype train, if you will, for more public transit.
I guess where I am with Jacksonville right now is I still think they missed the playoffs. I'm still in on them being competent. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. We said it all last year about there being no bad teams in the USL right now. They are going to be, I think them and Brooklyn are going to be the main losers in that sense right now. I think if this team came up in 2018, they're coasting into the playoffs. This is 2026, and the talent level has risen that much that I think that they're going to struggle a bit. I'm very interested on the goalkeeping spot between Oliveras and McGuire. where McGuire's been in this league for a long time. He knows the players, he knows the scouting. Do you prefer that in a number 2 where he can help out Olivares and say, hey, this is what this team does, this is what that team does, this is what this striker does, this is what that midfielder does, like this is how they want to attack things? Or would you rather have that in game and have that veteran experience immediately? I don't know how Jacksonville wants to attack it, but either way, I like that setup for Jacksonville.
And Damian Loss is the specter that is haunting this podcast. It feels like kind of a Damian Loss situation where Olivares is there because they're kind of guaranteeing he will get minutes in preparation for eventually stepping into a bigger role with St. Louis. Looked good against Charleston. And I think the benefit of him and McGuire is that they can be at least halfway decent at stepping out of their line and clearing danger outside of their box, because Jacksonville was playing a crazy high line against the Battery. And I don't know if that's just a tick of realizing Ben Pierman doesn't want to blast the long ball over you or what. I hope it's permanent because it'll make Jacksonville very fun.
And Kaylor, you had mentioned that Brooklyn and Jacksonville may be two of the losers kind of this realignment coming up into the championship. We do get 3 meetings between Brooklyn and Jacksonville throughout the season, so that's something to look forward to, or at least that's at least what FootMob has listed out as well. And I guess it was probably going to be a more interesting question before John had kind of convinced me here. But since we have Jacksonville as our Eastern Conference wooden spoon and Monterey Bay as our Western Conference one, the 2 teams do play each other on June 10th. But I guess looking at it now, are those our 2 wooden spoons, and who do you think will be the worst of the 2?
I mean, it's definitely Monterey Bay for my taste.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump back to Brooklyn, but I feel like Brooklyn has settled into last, I think, for all of us. I think that's a more interesting conversation between Brooklyn and Monterey Bay. But with Sporting Jacks, maybe this is, and John, you mentioned the Super League team where from out the gate they were just getting so many touches in the final third. Like from the very first game, it was something ridiculous number in the final third that just was mind blowing, and they just haven't stopped doing that. Maybe I have that a bit in my mind right now as I'm talking about Sporting Jacks, but this is going to be an exciting team. I really do believe that. I think that this team is going to be really exciting, and it's not going to be this, like you mentioned, free-flowing, like a billion touches in the box kind of team, but they're going to be aggressive. They're going to go forward. I think it's going to be fun, a fun team to watch.
And between Soto and Sadlier, like they're guys who, if they get the touch in the final third, they're going to beat you one-on-one, take a shot from distance, and just challenge you constantly. That's something you want to see from an expansion team, honestly.
Soto was a guy that I was really interested in. You talked to, I forget who you talked to. It was when you did the conversation with the Battery and the young
Lee
talent.
Cohen, yeah.
Yes. And Soto kind of came up, and he didn't quite join the lineage of some of their young guys to go on to do bigger, greater things. But that wasn't a slight at Soto, as he was still very wanted this offseason by both League One and championship teams, where maybe this is his level for another year or 2, but maybe a new horizon in Sporting Jacks could find him rising up a little bit more than maybe he was able to in Charleston last year.
He is still 19 years old, all the potential in front of him. And I think he learned some valuable lessons with that time he spent in Greenville. I mean, often playing as a winger there, but he got some wingback minutes. He was asked to contribute in the press. And you could see the way that he had grown in that friendly. Essentially on the ball, he kind of played as this 8-10 hybrid that was drifting between the lines and being creative. But they wanted him pushing up in the press, pressing next to the striker in a 4-4-2. And then as soon as the ball turned over, he was the outlet in transition. Could be a really big season for him.
Any final Sporting Jacks thoughts?
I'm happy that they're not going to be terrible because I was afraid of it.
As we've done the championship and we've done the full conversation now, which if you are someone who has watched all these videos or you've listened to everything live, I've been pleasantly surprised by each team on paper, Sporting Jacks included.